When Baker Mayfield asked to be released, put on waivers by Carolina, what do you think he thought was going to happen?
So, like, I mean, my understanding is this was all really cordial, and it didn't work out. He went in and saw the general manager, Scott Fitter. They talked it out. They agreed to release him. The Panthers saved $1.4 million here. I have to think like he thought like maybe I wind up in San Francisco. Like that's the most logical thing. Now he's going to go to LA and he's going to say how happy he is to be there. And I'm sure he is. And, the chance to play even a month with Sean McVay as your offensive play caller, there could be benefit in that and sort of rejuvenating his stock going into 2023. Absolutely 100%. But the timing of it, I mean, seems pretty obvious, I mean, he has background in that offense in both the LA and San Francisco offense, and that the offense he played in Cleveland under Kevin Stefanski is Gary Kubiak's offense, and Gary Kubiak's Kyle Shanahan's mentor. And, I think you look at the opportunity to compete for a championship, it would have been there in San Francisco. And my understanding is I talked to some people there last night. San Francisco wasn't that interested. Like, I don't know if they would have signed him even if he had cleared waivers. And they did their homework. They went back and looked at the tape. They thought the tape wasn't very good for whatever it's worth. So I don't think this was a huge consideration for San Francisco at the end of the day, based on what Baker Mayfield has put on tape over the last 2 years. So maybe he thought that the opportunity to go to San Francisco might be out there for him. But the reality of it, I think now becomes he's got to take whatever he was going to have to take whatever chance he had to rejuvenate his career and to kind of try to reestablish his stock going into 2023. And because of the injury situation in LA and because of the coaching staff that's there, Sean McVay primary among those coaches, I think it actually gives him a pretty good opportunity to do that.
Oh, I mean, he might start tomorrow night, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move for the Rams because it doesn't cost them anything. A seventh-round pick. And maybe you found your starter. I wonder Matthew Stafford's playing his status, not just this season where he's not going to play,
right.
but further here.
No, I mean, I think it's fair. The people I've talked to, no one thinks Matthew Stafford's going to be one of these guys who hangs around into his 40s. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to retire in 5 weeks. But I think he's somebody who won't when it's time, he'll know and he'll walk away. And maybe the concussion going through that over the last few weeks. And obviously there was another concussion scare after the first concussion. Maybe that's enough. He's got his ring, he's got his money, who knows, I think it's something the Rams certainly have to take into account. And, this is a worthy swing, a guy who was a first overall pick, a guy who got a team to the playoffs. I think if you're the Rams, you look at it and you say, just in case Matthew Stafford has second thoughts about coming back in 2023, this can be our first swing at finding our next quarterback. And here's the other part of it too, Dan. I mean, I think the rest of the year for the Rams has to be about evaluating the rest of the roster. The silver lining in all of this is they're going to get a clean look at the rest of the roster and what it looks like without those star players in there. I think Baker Mayfield probably gives them a better chance to get a clean look at what the offensive linemen look like, what the receivers look like, what the young running backs look like, what all those guys look like. And, probably gives them a better chance to assess who those guys are going into 2023.
Sean McVay gets a hall pass this year. Does he get another hall pass with this kind of season?
What do you mean? Like for next year, you mean?
Yeah. Could he put himself in trouble?
No, I mean, 5 winning seasons in a row for a franchise that was, dead as any franchise.
But that they're not built for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't I've said this to you before, Dan. I don't think he's rebuilding. I don't think he's gonna be there for the rebuild. So I've said that to you before. I think
so by choice.
I personally think I think if Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford are all in for 2023 or 2020, whatever it is, I think Sean will be there with them. I think when those guys walk away, when that core of players walks away, I think that there's the natural opportunity for Sean to step back. And Sean's been vocal about it too, whenever that time comes, that could be the time when,
well, they're throwing that kind of money out. And if he's looking at what these other analysts are making and you could pony up,
I mean, I just think like, it's like, he's talked openly about like wanting to start a family and wanting to take a break and get a breather and all the rest of it. It's just, they're eventually like that core of players, like those 4 guys that we've talked about in the past, and eventually those guys are going to walk away, and that's going to create a natural point for him to walk away too. And, I wrote this back in July. Like I felt this way in July. Like, I think he has 1 to 5 years left with the Rams. And, when I wrote that, like I said, 1 to 5 years, including this year.
Yeah.
So like nothing would surprise me.